Dave, how's it going? One day at a time. That's good.
Dan, Brian. Seven.
Hey guys. Some sound on here. Yes, folks, I'm calling the meeting to order, please. I want to welcome you this evening, and we start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Start with you, Dave. Dave Primer. Here. Chris Creech.
Here.
Nippy O'Rourke.
Here again, it's really quiet.
Okay, Steve
Here.
and that's it.
Yes.
Yes. Are there any additions and deletions to the agenda?
Yes,
Who is that?
I need to put some stuff in there.
That's Steve.
Dave.
Oh, Dave.
Dave, could you please turn on the microphone? We'll try to see if we can get sound quality better for the audience.
I just moved there, rather be segregated.
Yeah, come pull up a chair.
Here, Dave. Put it on the end.
Thank you.
Now maybe we need to move the.
Let's see, ask for the items on the agenda, they were not included. Decision on website. Proceeded.
That's on the agenda. Yes.
Okay, everything that is posted needs to be approved by the board after the meeting.
I'm sorry, I can't. I didn't hear that, Dave.
I said, everything that is posted and needs to be approved by the board that's put on in the meetings.
On the agenda, is that what you're talking about?
On the web, oh, wait a minute, I skipped one. I need Nippy to please email everyone on the board the procedure to post on the website.
All right, the website is not open for anybody to post on. Okay,
The board members.
the board
the board
members are
members
not,
and-
the board members
Like I
can
said,
make a request
and
to
then-
have something
Actually,
posted.
we can add the topic to the agenda to discuss, but
I'm
we,
sorry.
that's okay.
Okay.
So what the agenda add is to discuss the website,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, we need the procedure, and then anything being posted on the website needs to be approved by the board. All 5 members.
Okay, we'll discuss the website.
Okay.
There's 4.1 is the website transition. I'm just gonna add,
And I got a communication policy I'd like to discuss.
all right, hold on just a second. Okay, is this another agenda item?
Another communication policy.
Is that just that?
I need to address that,
Okay, where do we at? Where do you think we should have?
and a
that?
resolution on the chief's job.
We have a resolution on that
Okay.
already. Okay, so that's a discussion of a communication policy. Is that what you want, Dave? That would be under new business.
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to add it. 5.3 after the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay, it's on there. And it'll be your discussion, Dave. All right. Are there any conflicts of interest on the board related to any agenda items? Hearing none.
Board members, this is Paul Andre. I apologize for the interruption. Your meeting link on your website, at least for me, does not allow anyone in without some sort of permission. It says it's for certain personnel only. Your only option is for people to call into the meeting. The Zoom link does not work.
Did you understand that?
We will test that. We have many other members of the community currently able to join. I'm not certain what channel they took to get here, but I do apologize for that.
Okay, so he's not able to call in, but others are.
Well, he's dialed in, he just can't log in
Okay. Oh, to speak or,
to see presentation.
oh, to see the presentation. Okay. 2.1, approval of April 2023 meeting minutes. They have been posted. The draft minutes have been posted. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Steve
Nay.
and Dave,
What was the question?
the minutes
Oh.
from the last meeting have been posted?
Oh.
And do you approve?
No.
Okay.
Is there anything factually incorrect about the meeting minutes that you are not approving?
They're very poorly written. They're not, there's hardly any, not enough in there knew what went on at the meeting.
Are you aware of the minutes policy that we accepted, that we voted on and
I
agree with Dave.
Information on the board and the.
And you can go on-
Information written to know what went on.
and you go online and you can hear the complete meeting recorded. You can listen to it and watch it or not
The
watch it.
quality is too poor. You cannot listen to it.
All right, the minutes, it's 3-4, 2 against. They are approved. We will start now with the treasurer's report.
Yeah, thank you. This month for the treasury report, there's going to be some additions, things that haven't been covered before. Primarily, this is my last board member as a treasurer. And given the time that I've been here and the things that I have learned, I felt like I should give the community a little bit more information that may have not been previously presented. It's all already posted in my treasury report. I'll just kind of cover it and we'll open up for questions at the end. So standard processing, as I've always showed, are the amount that we spend each month. So that is on display. For the period of April 2023, we spent $37,163. I always notate any items above $1,000. $25,000 went to the purchase of 2 new trucks. $1,548 went to GGFPD 911. That actually is 2 payments. We don't typically have bills for $1,500, but for some reason in Treasury transition, a previous bill was not paid. So when I received this quarterly invoice, it included 2 invoices from a past due. We spent $1,400 for the decals for our 2 new trucks. These were budgeted funds, and $1,073 was one particular station's propane spend. Year to date, we've spent $75,105, and that is basically our total expenditures and our budget versus actuals. There is a budgeted additional spend of $163,828. There's an asterisk on there because there'll be some discussions in what I have projected as surplus in some certain budget line items that we'll present here in a moment. The district collected $18,127 in revenue for the month, $17,977 from Jefferson County Treasurer. We received $4,121 worth of interest in our reserve account. We had $100 worth of donations and a $50 permit fees. We're still expecting $120,270 in tax revenue, and not accounting for the recent 25 basis point interest increase and the effect that that could have on our reserve account. We're projected very conservatively to receive an additional $11,325 in interest income on our reserve account. April 23, statement of financial position. One of the things that I, sort of note is as of April, the end of April, we had $396,000 in total bank accounts. That number has increased. I think we got another tax payment recently. That represents about 165% of our 23 expenditure budget. Our reserve account is very well funded, and we'll discuss that in just a moment or two. A few items to note if you reviewed the budget versus actuals for April 2023. Always remember that some of the budgeted items, actually this particular month, I removed the concept of averaging. So the budget should be in line, annual budget versus spend to date. In previous months, I've posted it as a monthly average. And so you might've seen numbers not look so good. There are still 2022 payroll expenditures in our overall budget because of just the way that the cycle hits. Checks don't start cashing until mid-January, but they were 2022 spend. They just show up in our budget numbers for 2023. Gas always looks out of line in winter. We pay for a substantial amount of propane in the winter. We will not be paying for propane in the summer. And there's some double posting on some of the transaction reports. You might see like a credit card charge hit twice. It's just a weird thing with our corporate credit card. It comes in from the corporate account and then the individual person who charged it to their card. I'm trying to fix that. But the numbers and the money's there. We're not paying twice. We're not being charged twice. It's simply posting in QuickBooks twice. These are the topics that I wanted to present and discuss briefly. Number one, I'd like to sort of address or discuss or make certain that the community is aware of the reserve account growth that we have had. If I could ask all Zoom audience members to self-mute so that there's no background distractions. Thank you. And I also want to discuss a few budgeted line items that are projected by the treasurer, in my opinion, to be surplus line items. First off, this is the reserve account. This is what we basically, this is how our reserve account has grown. starting back to 2016, you can see where we had planned to spend money, 160,000. We only spent 113. And this is just one individual year. So, sorry. Okay, so if you trace the history of the reserve account that we have, from 2016 through 2022, we budgeted to spend money. The board presented to the community a budget that included improvement items, whatever it was, and then it just never happened. In some years, we didn't spend $176,000 worth of planned spend last year. And that sort of always leads to this reserve account growing. It is the point that our district does not spend the money on the improvements that we are telling the community that we're going to spend on. That's how our reserves have grown in a 6-year period to grown $291,000. I'm not advocating that we don't need to have reserves and that we shouldn't be fiscally responsible, but I believe government should not be operating to profit. And everything about these budgets over the last several years is government for profit. Year after year after year, monies are just being diverted over to a reserve account, and we're not using it to better our district. So that is my discussion item for our reserve account that you've heard me talk about recently. For 2023, there is approximately $53,000, in my opinion, that is going to lead to a budget surplus. Coincidentally, that 53,000 is about the average over the last 6 years that we diverted into reserves, because the way that our budgets have been built. I'd like to go through and talk about and mention some of these items that I believe are budget surpluses. First off, I'd like to mention the concept of contingency. Inside of our 2023 budget, we have a line item called contingency. The basic concept of this contingency line item in the budget, in my opinion, is if it doesn't tap dance against some Tabor issues, I just don't think it needs to be listed in our budget, because one of our budgeted sources of revenue says that we're going to bring $25,000 out of that reserve account so that we could balance our budget. So we're pulling out of reserves to leave on a line item in a 2023 budget contingency. It just, to me, contingency is emergency spending, and we have a $325,000 contingency account sitting there waiting to be touched. So why line item it in this budget? Historically, since 2012, when we've been using QuickBooks, $356 has been allocated to contingency spending. So the reason that I am saying that the contingency line item will be a surplus is A, if we have a catastrophic event, it'll be covered by insurance. B, in 10 years, we've only allocated $356 to contingencies, yet year after year, our boards put this line item in to sort of help balance out the budget. So my projections is that $14,000 of contingency is surplus by the end of the year. Audit expenditures. The board planned $10,000 for an audit of our financial circumstances. That was planned in 2022 with the budget committee. However, this year, as we came closer to some filing times, the board chose to do what's called an audit exemption, because our threshold for revenue and expenditures does not exceed a certain limit. We're not required to go through the full accounting process of an audit. We can file for an exemption, and it's estimated that that'll cost, our accountant will likely charge us estimated $1,500 to have prepared our exemption form that has been filed with the state. So that is a projected $8,500 in surplus on the line item of audit expenditures. We budgeted to receive $5,000 in interest income. A lot changed since October of last year. I can't remember how many rate increases. I believe there's been at least 3 rate increases since October of last year. However, we only budgeted to receive $5,000. We're now projected to receive over $16,000. Therefore, $11,325 of additional interest income that was not budgeted for will be coming into the district. We budgeted $10,000 for our May election. And as we already know, we no longer needed to continue with the election because we only had 2 candidates for election. Therefore, that $6,447 is currently listed as a projected budget surplus. Specifically written in our budget under line item 614.54, there's a line item called Station 3 Utilities and Maintenance for $3,300. It is a duplicate entry. We already have a line item for utilities. We already have a line item for maintenance. Coincidentally, those equal $3,300. That is just an error in documentation. And so that's $3,300. That isn't, we're not going to spend $6,600 in utilities and maintenance on the station. So it's just an error. It could be written back in as a surplus. Newsletters and postage, $1,500. We have not discussed any potential newsletters or postage that we will need to send anything in the district. Our IGA with Timberline that they have grant money to mail recruitment letters into our district. We do not have to do that. So potentially there's been some historical, maybe there's been email or mailings for recruitment. Timberline pays for that out of a grant that we're partners with. There's nothing planned to mail to the tune of $1,500. That's going to be a complete not used allocation. In our budget, number 519, we've listed this concept called payroll service fees. Historically, the payroll service fees were paid, that's basically our QuickBooks. In order to process payroll through QuickBooks, we have to pay some additional fees for that usage. And it has previously been listed under payroll service fees. However, when our bookkeeping consultant took over in the interim between the prior board resignation and me coming into the role, she reallocated that. It all went into software. So you'll see in our budget versus actuals on payroll service fees, year-to-date spend 0. It's in software. And so that line item of $1,056 for payroll service fees is it's duplicated. It's already covered in software. Within software, and part of our transition to Chief Benson taking over some of the things that Timberline were doing, there's a software package that we will not purchase. We've never used it. We've purchased it for a couple of years, but it was never activated, never used, and it will not be used. So this year, we would have budgeted for Vector Solutions. I believe that's the name of it. We would have budgeted to purchase Vector Solutions because we had historically bought it, but we will not be buying Vector Solutions this year. So that's an additional $845. We will receive $700 of income from the Grange. They pay for half the trash. Again, these are small pennies. There's not big time money, but again, these are surpluses that will be coming into the district that were not accounted for. Finally, the line item for vehicles. This year, we budgeted to spend $30,000 for vehicles. We've bought 2 vehicles. It cost us $25,000. There are no plans to buy another vehicle for $5,000. Therefore, that $5,000 line item is going to be a surplus. I didn't personally come up with all of this myself. Each month, Chief Benson and I have talked about the budget since he's come on board. As treasurer, I believe it's my responsibility to make certain that everything is working fine. We have line item, top to bottom, the budget, and we discussed these line items as well as every single other line item in the budget. And our chief, our CEO, has indicated that he agrees with this, and we didn't touch any other line items because they are still budgeted to be spent, and they will be spent. That's my treasurer's report. I'll happily answer any questions that anyone has.
Yes, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
First of all, this is 3.25. This is Steve Green, board member. This is 3.25 times as much as we paid our last chief. Second, as Deb Curley stated, not anybody can post to the website.
Mr. Green, you have questions about
Excuse me, don't interrupt me, please.
This is time to ask me questions about the treasury.
I
report.
would like to speak. Can I not speak there, Chris?
It's
Dave
an
asked
agenda.
about posting to the website. He was told by Deb Curley, only certain board members can post to the website.
No.
This has been a biased process, Chris. You've started it, you've managed it. Numerous of the surveys.
I'm going
were
to call for a
never
point
posted.
of order. The website is on our agenda to discuss later. We are
No, it's
discussing,
all part of it.
Mr.
No.
Green,
Okay, fine. There you go. Everybody who's listening. Chris Creech,
have-
this is the Creech Fire Protection District.
Mr. Green, do you have questions
Fine,
about
you
the,
don't want me to speak? Fine, but you're a biased person. You posted biased things and you won't.
Mr. Green,
allow
you
me
are
to get-
harassing me by calling me a biased person. Do you have questions about the treasury report? The other topics will
You
be
won't allow
discussed
them.
on our
I
agenda.
do not follow your guidelines. I have questions about what you just presented.
Ask your questions about what
I
I
just did. They're
sir.
statements. You didn't present it fairly or honestly. Other people wrote you and you didn't put in their surveys.
Steve,
Your survey was
you have a
conducted poorly.
mute him.
Mr.
You have to address the treasurer's report, Steve. Otherwise, we're not listening.
Mr. Green, do you have questions about the treasury report? We'll cover the other issues in our agenda as we move forward.
I am addressing the treasurer's report.
What questions do you have about the treasury
I
report?
don't necessarily have questions. I have statements about them. I just made them. It wasn't a fair process. None of what you said was fair. What was on the website wasn't fair. Your surpluses are not properly listed. And there was no side for a counterpoint. It was only your point, period.
I am the treasurer, sir.
And the webmaster.
Yes, sir. But we're talking about the treasury report right now.
Doesn't matter what you're talking about. Go ahead there, Chris. You take it over.
Does anybody in the community have questions on treasurer's report, any of the other items that have been posted? Could you please come forward to ask your question so the audience on Zoom can hear you?
This is Julie Ramstetter. My question is on the newsletter and postage for 1,500. I was going back through the comments. I don't have questions about your additions, subtractions. I don't have any questions about that. My question is regarding the postage. In some of the comments that I read, somebody had mentioned that they didn't feel that the board members were doing enough to reach out. My thought process on the newsletter and postage is, would it behoove us to take, I think it's like $250, and just send out postcards that direct them to the website? A lot of people still don't even know where to go for the information. Now, I agree that we've done a really good job about posting stuff on the website and about sending the newsletter out. But for those people that don't get on the internet a lot, I think it might be a good idea to mail something like that out so that they are aware, this is where you go.
So in regards to the treasury report, you believe that we should be not completely reallocating all the funds, that the board should consider some sort of mailer of information.
That's correct.
Okay, that hasn't, thank you for that comment. I'll just say that at no time at my presence on this board have we discussed spending any money on postage. So if it's something that the board wants to do in future months, that's fine, but that it is a projected surplus because at this time, there's no plans to spend it.
Correct.
Okay.
It was just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Anyone else on the treasurer's report? That's your full report, Chris?
It is actually, yes, that is my full treasurer's report. However, okay, yes.
You sure?
Yes, my treasurer's report's done.
Okay, I'd like to take just a minute. I'm a little frustrated tonight, and I apologize. You may notice some police presence here tonight. An email from Mr. Green went out about a few hours before the meeting today that I was not comfortable with and the other board members were not comfortable with. And as an abundance of caution, we have a police presence here for your safety. And that's all. Just wanted to explain why that was going on.
Yes,
you.
let's talk about that email. I didn't feel safe after being threatened by 3 separate times.
Mute him.
I said I will no longer participate in person. That's what my email said, because
What?
you have created lies and Diffie has threatened me twice, and so has Custodia's husband.
Point of order. Are you
So
through?
don't make up a story there, Deb.
Could you read that email out? I didn't see it.
Yeah, read it.
Oh.
Could you read it out?
I have copies. I'm not going to take time to read it.
Well,
I'll read it.
Okay, do that, Steve. Let's
I
read
will.
it.
Hold on one sec. I have to pull it up.
Actually, there's no line item to read the email. I'm going to motion that
You
we,
don't want it to be read.
I did not
I'm
get
going to
see
motion
your
that we
email.
continue.
I'm going to give you a copy.
I want to hear it.
I motion that we continue to 3.2 Chief's report. This is not an item listed on our agenda.
Right.
I can read it.
It was just.
Can I have a second on my motion?
No.
I'll second that.
I'll read the email, Dave, if you want.
All in favor of tabling that, Steve? It's
No.
not on the agenda.
I need to hear what. we're
I'm going to give you a copy and it's not on the agenda, Dave, so
It
we're not
doesn't
going to
matter.
listen.
You
We're not
brought it
going to
up.
listen.
You brought it up. I'd like to know what we're voting on, and I
We're-
cannot vote on it if I cannot hear it read.
We are voting to continue with our agenda.
We're voting. to hear
All in
this.
favor of continuing with the agenda? Niffy? Niffy?
Aye.
They
Aye.
don't want the email read.
Steve?
Once again, you
Got a
don't want
no?
the emails read. You're
And
hiding.
No.
All right, the motion to continue with the agenda passes.
You're hiding things.
Mr. Green. will you please
Mr.
stop?
Creed,
Mr. Green, you continue to disrupt this meeting, and I'm going to ask
I'm
that you
not
please
disrupting the
make,
meeting. I offered to read the email that you won't allow to be read once again.
the board has moved on to 3.2 Chief's report.
Go for it. May the record
All right.
reflect. You don't want it read.
Mr. Green, please do no longer interrupt our meeting.
So,
Go ahead. Chief.
wow there, all right. So we're in the final weeks of the 90-day transition period. The last month has been really focused on outward relationships on my part, working with other fire chiefs and other leaders within emergency response in the region. Spending time with the line firefighters, we had a really great business meeting this last month, and also defining department structure moving forward, working with the officers and with Assistant Chief Enright. On May 3rd, Chief Enright and myself performed the oath of office as Assistant Fire Chief and Fire Chief of the Fire Protection District at the firefighter business meeting. And we were both received our badge at that meeting by our significant others, which is, if you have not been able to be a part of a ceremony like that, it's kind of a quick tradition for people as they come in or they receive promotions within the fire district, that their significant other pins the badge on them. We did it at the firefighters business meeting to kind of keep it assimilated with the business meeting. It sounds like that's the tradition within the district. So we continued with that since it was just Chief Enright and myself that received badges at that time. And we will hopefully be celebrating quite a few more people receiving badges later at the end of the year after they finish academy. We'll have a much bigger party at that time. Celebrate their accomplishments. Regional and county. So I'm gonna actually expand on this a little bit from those people who have read the chief's report. As you may know, the state legislature passed 11 bills in the last session that ended on Monday. Most of them are in regarding wildland fire. A couple of big things that got covered in those bills is the addition of a second Firehawk, which is a fire adapted Black Hawk helicopter. And it's not been allocated or been released where that helicopter will be based, but it's just another really great statewide resource for us. It's a very heavy hitting aerial asset for us to fight fire in the entire state. We have another one that has gone into, Chris, I believe it's gone into service. Is that correct?
Correct. I believe it hasn't gone into service yet. It is scheduled by the end of this month. It's based out of the
Yeah.
Broomfield Jetco Airport.
So it's a very close asset for us, which is really, it's a really great thing geographically for us to have that close.
If I can quickly out of that table. We've extended an offer to train with them in our district. They have expressed a great deal of interest in that. So you may see a Firehawk helicopter in our district in the next month or two, training with our firefighters.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So some of the other things that got covered by the bills, there is some standardization of evacuation procedures. Essentially, most of that has to do with new developments, requiring developers to basically establish evacuation procedures prior to the establishment and building of a development. That's something that hasn't been fully implemented yet. It's just kind of in a test phase. That's what the bill implemented at that point. It doesn't really depend on us that much. However, DFPC also, there was a bill that pertained to wildland fire investigation. Originally was just for wildland fire investigation, has now spanned to all fire investigations. Basically broadens DFPC's strength for investigations. It's going to allow them to hire on state investigators for deployments for wildland fire investigation and also structure fire investigation. It also created essentially a funding mechanism for if we as a district have a wildland fire or a structure fire that needs investigation, that let's say Arvada is to send us a fire investigator, it allows the fire investigations group from Arvada actually to apply back to the state to receive funding for that investigation. So it's a really great asset for those of us who are in small districts that don't have a fire investigations, someone who's certified in fire investigations in the district, to be able to use our neighbors, our asset and knowledge to help our district, but also not have to be shouldered with the financial burden of such an investigation. We also, I attended a meeting this morning regarding some of the other legislature. The biggest one I think that has raised conversation is that the state will be producing a statewide WUI code, urban interface, wilderness urban interface code. This is going to be a code that's applied to the entire state. They're going to be standing up a committee at the end of this year. The committee will meet throughout the entirety of next year and will establish a statewide code. Every special district and every municipality within the state will have to meet that code or exceed that code by the end of next year. That is, so that's going to be, it's not something that's coming through county. That is a state level legislature bill that was passed.
What kind of code are you talking about?
It's an urban interface code. Again, mostly has to do with new development. Essentially, making sure that new development that happens in the urban interface meets certain code regulations. That was, let me make sure I've got my notes from that meeting this morning. So that's pretty much it as far as the regional and state update. Admin, we've scheduled the Station 81 cleanup and clean out for June 3rd. Everyone's welcome. If you want to come to Station 81, help us clean up, clean some trucks, get the station nice and shiny again. At the end of that cleanup, we're actually going to hang the new sign that the auxiliary created for the fire district as kind of a new badge for the station. This station has been clean. We're ready for service. We're ready to take the next step into the future as a station. We're going to be doing that for each station. So the first up is Station 81, as I said, on June 3rd. The next will be 82, and then we will finish down here at Station 83. Hopefully when we're down here at Station 83, the plan is to have a little bit more of a community event, smaller station, there'll be less work, but hopefully have the entire community here with us to have a barbecue and do have kids to do a touch a truck event. And really be able to engage with community members that weren't able to engage during the other cleaning events. Or even those who were able to help with those cleaning events with us down here. With that clean out project, I've also been in contact with 5280 Fire, which is a local fire journalism website and photo documentarian. That team at 5280 Fire, it's not one person anymore, sends people out and updates pictures of fire apparatus and make sure that fire apparatus are essentially assigned to each station appropriately in their online resource that they use. They're going to be coming out with us on the cleanup days to be updating our photographs of our vehicles and also updating the public information that's regarding where they're located as well as what they look like. Operations. This is actually some notes that have come from Chief Enright. This is a good place to note. This is going to be the last Chief's report that's in this format. We're going to be moving forward with a more of a collaborative Chief's report, where we're taking notes from operations from Chief Enright and from the station officers and people who are leading each program to be able to have more of a collective voice that we're putting out to the community through this report each month. So this is the first report from Chief Enright. Operations has remained steady and on track. We have actually now had 30 incidents to date in 2023. We've had 2 since we created this report. Majority were EMS calls, but we've had 5 fire type incidents, which is a little bit higher incidents than we normally see up to this point in time in the year. I've got the call reporting, which is attached to the uploads on the website if you are interested in looking through that. The personnel responding to each incident has been a little bit troubling. It remains troubling. We've had several incidents in the last month with either 1 or 2 firefighters responding. Normally, we're shooting for a minimum of 3 for each call. Average response time, however, has dropped 3 minutes per call since last month. So that's a great metric for us moving forward. So that's time that we have a truck out the door en route to an emergency. And also our turnout times have dropped by 15 seconds.
Can I ask a few questions?
Sorry.
Related to number of personnel per call? What's behind that? Why are we having so few on calls?
Part of that is the time that calls are occurring during the middle of the day when there's less people who are in the district, people who are working.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we have calls that happen in the middle of the day, just inherently there's less people to respond to calls within the district.
Yeah.
At night and on weekends, we do have great response from our firefighters. The call that just occurred after 5 p.m., we had a great response from our firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
However, we've had quite a few that have happened during that daytime period. And it is continuously, it's not just a struggle for Golden Gate, it's a struggle for all volunteer-based fire service to get staffing during the workday.
Yeah.
And have people respond. So that's one of the largest culprit to low response for each of those calls.
Are our individual stations, I would assume that some of our volunteers, they have their full-time jobs and they may work remotely. Do our fire stations, support someone to say, hey, I'm going to work remotely today at a station, therefore I'm closer should a call occur? I mean, do we have that potential?
Correct. And I'm going to add something to that right now. So that's something that we're working on. One of the big infrastructure things that's happening right now is an upgrade to the internet at the stations, with us currently working on installing Starlink at Station 82. So that does allow people to be able to work from the station a little bit better, where it's something we're also looking to try to, as we clean out the stations, create better workspace, a more inviting place for firefighters to respond to this, or work from the station to respond to calls.
Yeah.
However, we're also working on implementing essentially a red flag staffing event.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
To the members of the Zoom audience, will you please individually mute your computer, because the background noise that we hear means that it shuts down the audio for all other Zoom members. I will continue to mute individuals that I see that are unmuted and the background noise is coming from. I'm just asking members of the Zoom audience to mute yourself until you're speaking, please. Thank you.
Sorry, no problem.
Red flag. What?
Yep. So Chief Enright and myself and the officers are working on implementing a red flag staffing protocol, so that when we do have a red flag warning within the district, we're going to create an incentive for firefighters to come and actually staff the stations, which will drastically decrease our turnout time on red flag events when the time is that much more critical for us to be responding to any fires within the district, especially in the wildland arena. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, sounds great.
So that's a big thing that we're doing moving forward that should really drastically decrease our turnout times especially during that time where we have red flag warnings. Chief Enright and myself have worked through job delineation, department structure moving forward. A huge thank you to Chief Enright, who diligently created job descriptions for every position currently within the fire department's rank structure. That's something that did not exist from the fire department before. And it's a huge step forward for us moving, or a huge step up for us moving forward, to have each of those job descriptions concrete and written out and approved, so that each person in each job description knows what their requirements are and what's required of them to be able to move to that next level. It helps us both keep people accountable, but also helps people who want to reach the next level within their fire service career within Golden Gate know what their requirements are to get there. Station Tender 83, which is currently at Station 83 or 82, is going to be moved to Station 83. That is a vehicle that is not drivable by a majority of the fire department staff. And because of its lack or limited use for the firefighters that we currently have in the district, the station or the tender is going to be moved to Station 83 during warm weather to basically function as a tactical based water source. It'll be parked outside here. And will allow us to be able to have basically a quick fill station central to the whole district, which will greatly increase our water supply for any kind of car fires or structure fires on either side of the district. So we think that that's a really good tactical placement of that vehicle currently, and should help the entire district as far as water availability. Station or Rescue 82, which is one of the two new vehicles that we acquired a couple months ago. Will be moving to Station 82 to take its place there while it's being outfitted and having graphics put on, but that will be its location moving forward until we run into cold weather again. And we have to kind of consider where that tender is going to be stationed. Another really great thing for us moving Rescue 82 to Station 82 is that will allow us to not have to move the brush truck that we currently move from Station 83 to 82 when we have crew that's staffing at 82. So they'll have a quick response vehicle available at Station 82 at all times. So that's going to be a great move for us, great move for our firefighters, and it also helps make staffing a little bit less logistically challenging. We currently have 19 members on the roster. We have 2 on leave of absence. We did have 1 member who was on an extended leave of absence that resigned and was working on turning in their equipment to the district. We have 4 candidates now who have submitted applications for operational positions. We also have 1 community member who has submitted a formal interest in becoming part of the district on from an operational perspective. We're working to get these candidates through background checks and interviews. I just got an email from some folks that help us with the recruitment process to start moving them through that process or through that interview and also through our backgrounds. However, we're also going to start working on standing up a committee of Golden Gate firefighters who are assigned the responsibility of reviewing each application as it comes in, and then also performing the interviews and then helping with the onboarding process as we move forward. As you guys may remember, we still have an IGA with Timberline to help us with recruitment and onboarding. And they're still going to be offering and helping us with those services. Chief Bondas just sent me an email earlier this week regarding these applicants, and we'll be moving forward using those resources that they have from their FEMA grant to bring these people into the district and help with their initial onboarding. So it's really great for us to see that we have that uptick in interest in the district from an operational perspective. On top of that, as you guys remember, I think I actually addressed this later in the report, but we did onboard Becca Cosley as our digital information manager, and she's going to be working on building our new website. We have 2 firefighters who are currently in Golden Fires Academy. They're doing well. We also have several firefighters and officers who are going to be going to the academy to assist with training. That's two things that are important about that. Everybody who goes and helps with the academy is also simultaneously receiving repetition and training when they're there. So that's a great training opportunity, even though they're teaching for our firefighters and for our officers. It also helps us integrate better with our neighboring districts that are participating in the fire academy. The updated Timberline recruitment IGA is going to be visited by the Timberline Fire Board this month for review. I believe that meeting is on the 25th. I also attended this last month the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis with Netherland Fire Protection District, and was able to receive a significant amount of training on fire service advancements, tactics, leadership. There's a lot of things going on right now in the fire service, especially with the inundation of mobile tech as it comes to batteries. And as we have probably heard in the media, what happens when those batteries catch fire. There's a lot of implications for us as a small fire district as far as how to best put out those fires or be able to at least keep those fires contained, especially when we're in a very tight canyon with wilderness urban interface on both sides. A EV fire that starts in the canyon burns at 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit and can launch cells at 120 feet in all directions. That's something that for us is a very severe and new threat. And going to conferences like this helps us stay modern as far as what we need, or helps us stay up to date as far as what we need to do to be able to combat those threats. We had one plan submitted to GFPC for review in Golden Gate Fire Protection District. I'm working with GFPC to make sure that workflow plan reviews remains efficient and timely. We are still looking to create an IGA with Golden to basically fill the plan review need within the district in the long term. Logistics, the 2 trucks are ready to receive their graphics packages, and they should be installed in the next week or 2. Sam has been working really diligently on that, and hopefully that should happen very quickly. As I just received an email coming up, the district lights and sirens without any graphics on the side can confuse quite a few people, I think. When they see a big silver truck with no lights or with no graphics on it pull up behind him. Avtech of Golden will be installing our mobile VHF 800 megahertz and cell booster modules in Command 81 and Rescue 82. The cell booster is something that I don't think I touched on in the last meeting. It's something we're going to install in these next 2 trucks based off of some of the communications issues that occurred during the Bear Fire. It should allow us to be able to communicate better with the MMA, the multi-mission aircraft that sends data from above to incident command, but will also allow us to do things like share maps on backcountry rescue incidents with each other and or download the data that's required to be able to get those maps out to the other responders. It essentially creates a big mobile hotspot on each truck. So that's going to be a good operational upgrade for us moving forward. Chief Enright's working with a local vendor to create a full equipment plan for Rescue 82. I just saw that email come through about an hour ago. We're moving forward with that equipment plan, and thank you to the auxiliary for being willing to help us equip that truck as we move forward. The firefighters have been receiving updated station and wildland boots. I think, Chris, how many boots have been distributed so far?
Oh, at least half a dozen, if not more.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a great thing for us moving forward. And thank you again to the auxiliary for supporting that update to our firefighter PPE. Communications, we have officially engaged with the Portal Authority for the creation of a new website. All the documentation has been signed between us and the state for the website. Our project is next on deck for implementation. There's been communication between Becca and the state and myself, and we are all on deck and ready to start designing the website as soon as the IPA is ready for us to move forward. The Motorola handheld radios that we talked about in the last meeting that were donated to the district, as well as the mobile radios that are going in the 2 vehicles, have been prepared for programming by our third-party programmer. That programmer was out on an extended vacation for the majority of last month, so we weren't able to get them programmed, but we just saw communications with him again today, and we'll be getting those out and then distributed to our firefighters within the next month. Next 3 months, future actions, events, vision value meeting. I know we put that on for a few months now. We took a little bit of a step back from that to make sure that we are going through the station cleanups first, kind of taking care of our own house before we start looking at doing some of the bigger mission, vision, values. I also wanted to be here for 90 days before we start to go through that process with the district. Talked about the cleanups, truck build outs, strategic operational plan, which we may touch on earlier here in a bit for the mid-range. Operational member recruitment plan. As you've seen, we've actually had quite the uptick as far as applications for operational recruitment. And then also continued implementation of support service volunteer roles. So as you guys have seen, we brought in Becca as our first support services volunteer. In general, the idea is that we are going to open other non-operational roles to the community. We want the community to be part of the fire department. Doesn't matter if you're going to be responding to calls or not. If you want to come to the fire department and help us with maintenance, or help us with cleaning, or help us with administrative duties, or something else that you see as a problem within the fire district that you want to help us with, let us know, and we're just going to bring you in. We'll have you fill out an application, and you're officially going to be part of the fire district. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're responding to calls or not. It doesn't mean you're not going to be part of the fire district. You want to hear, you want to be here, you want to help. We're going to just do the quick paperwork to bring you in, and you will be part of Golden Gate Fire Protection District. And then also making sure that we're implementing a diversified operational volunteer role program. In the job descriptions that were written by Chief Enright, we are teasing out the idea of a wildland only responder, as well as a medical only responder and a backcountry rescue responder. Does not mean that they can't cross over and that we're not going to have full service volunteer firefighter EMTs, but someone who only has the time and interest to commit to just wildland, that they can start as just a wildland responder or just a backcountry rescue responder, or even someone who just wants to respond to their neighbors for medical incidents. I know we have somebody in the room who's very interested in just the EMS portion of that and being able to respond to their neighbor if they're in that time of need. 6-month horizon, making sure we're updating our station update plan and wish list. That probably would be executed on come winter as far as station updates. Apparatus replacement plan, which is being worked on by the firefighters. Financial diversity plan, which is in the mid-range forecast. Still looking on recruiting a resident for Station 82. As we talked about in the last meeting, there's going to be a joint firefighter 2 academy come fall between at least 3 fire districts. Most likely will be us, Timberline, and Golden. That will be sending firefighters to that Fire 2 academy, which we will be hosting here at Golden Gate. And then also looking at creating a succession plan and promotional path. A big portion of that was creating those job descriptions so people understand what the requirements are for being a firefighter, for being a lieutenant, for being a captain, for being the assistant chief, for being the fire chief, and saying that's what's required for me to be able to get there. So essentially creates the path for one person to move from each rank to the next. And then also what is required for leaders within the district to reach down to the rank below them and help people come up to that rank, that next rank. So basically creating that succession plan. The community strategic concepts and visions are all the same as they have been for the last couple of months. And we've got the attachments, and that's it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, I have a question and a comment. On the truck that's gonna be outside the station here, are you worried at all? We've had a lot of weird things going on with vehicles here. Is that vehicle gonna be at risk being outside?
I don't foresee it being at risk based off of the profile of the vehicle. It's a very large, heavy tender. It's also it's also an older vehicle that doesn't have a lot of the technology or things that people are trying to take off of vehicles. I also don't think that anyone trying to steal that truck is going to move it very far. Yeah.
At the website, I'm speaking for myself, I'm an old person. And can we have whoever does this website, make it not real complicated for older people who are not tech savvy? It just would be really nice.
Yes, we can definitely do that. And actually, there's actually new ADA compliance regulations for websites that we'll be following and looking through. It's part of the state guidance as we build a new website. And that's, one of the other great things that we have being on that state portal is making sure that we're meeting all of the requirements.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
tell me more about the International Wildland Urban Interface Code that I heard you discuss early on in your report.
What a surprise.
No problem. So, Steve, the legislature, the legislature passed a bill.
Who was
That
it
is-
that said, what a surprise, may I ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Steve.
Who was it that said that?
That was me. I knew you were going to ask that is all I'm saying. Go
Okay,
ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
sure you are.
So, Steve, the legislature passed a bill that is going to create a statewide WUI code. So they're standing up a committee that will create the code. There's nothing to be said if it's going to be based off of the international, as you referred to, the international WUI code. So they're going to be creating their own code. They may use that as a guideline. They may not.
Could you
But there
send
will
me
be
a copy of the statewide code, please?
Pardon?
Could you send me a copy of the statewide code?
Sure, it has actually not been created yet. It's standing up the committee to create the code. The code will be implemented next year.
Could you send me whatever you have about that, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all.
Sheila, did you have a question?
My question was going to be, do we know who's gonna be on that committee?
We do not. So that bill was passed last week, I believe. And they're still getting out, like I said, my meeting with the state fire or with the county fire marshals was this morning regarding that, all of the legislature. So I believe it's going to be a 21 member committee that will be mostly, I believe, made up of experts from the wildland urban interface arena, as well as some legislators to be able to create that committee and move forward with the code.
Could we
And
get
all
some
of the
information?
One more time, Steve.
Could we get some contact information? I would like to see the progress in this, since in the past I found that code to be so impossible to comply with. Everybody in the district was in violation of the wildland, of the international version.
Right, and I think the one thing to make sure that we clarify is that code is not retroactively applied to people's homes. Code is for
I'm looking out for future residents too.
correct. So as a future resident or someone who was to develop within the district, the code does apply. And this is separate. I do want to make sure this is very clear. The code that's being referenced by the state legislature is different from the defensible space ordinances that the county has moved forward with for permitting. They're completely different things. That is a county permitting process that requires defensible space for someone who's building a new deck or a addition to their home. That is not part of the urban interface code compliance.
I understand that.
The code itself that's being written on the state level is for specifically for new builds. Does that make sense? Okay.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure that's going to be the case because that's not how it worked with the ICC version of the code. It was later said that you couldn't have more than 5 gallons of paint, 5 gallons of gasoline, 25 gallons of diesel. It went on and on and on, and the water requirements were impossible. And I just want to make sure they don't use that code as a model, because that code required everybody up here to have 1,000 gallons of water for 1 hour per minute for 1 hour.
Yeah, and
That's
so see, just to address your
gallons.
concern, like it was talked about a little bit today. If there was questions raised on what they're going to base the code off of, and as of right now, there is no answer. The committee may base it off of the international code standard, but they most likely will be taking input from all of these stakeholders to be able to create that code for the state.
I would
But
like to
again, that's
be
not
able
something
to
that
know.
I'm sitting on right now, right? This is something I'm bringing messages. If you have more questions regarding this, this is a public bill that was passed by the state legislature. You can go onto the state website and download the text of the bill.
Well, as a representative for our district, if you're going to these meetings, you should try your best to make certain that it doesn't happen like the last group of experts did. And they created it so many people's properties were unbuildable. They were in violation of the code. The code wasn't heavily enforced, but nonetheless, it could be selectively enforced, which we all discussed many years ago, how selectively it was used against individuals. So I just want you to be aware of that, and I would like to be aware of it if I'm allowed to be part of this process.
I will keep everybody informed on that. And like I said, if this is a public, as far as the bill itself, it's posted on the state website because it's a voted bill. So you can go onto the state legislature website and pull all of that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Dave Kapusta, and first thing I want to say is that's probably one of the best fire chief reports I've ever heard.
Yes,
I'm a
here,
former-
here.
I'm a former board member, former secretary, former treasurer, and former grant writer, and former firefighter, captain, fire marshal as well. So I know a little bit about it. The question I have is, in the topic that you're just talking about, that's going to be something upcoming for new areas or residences. Years ago, I was involved in the national conference for the FireWise program.
Correct.
And we established it here in the community. But I have not seen anything for FireWise for quite some time. And I'm wondering, that would apply to everyone and how they work with it, with education, everything else. Where do we sit on what's happening with FireWise?
So as of, I believe it was last month, and Director Curley and some other members of the community, there's a couple of people that sat on that group, re-upped our FireWise accreditation, or is it called an accreditation, Harry? Certification. Yeah. For 3 years for the district. So that we are part of the FireWise program as far as a community. So that's still, all of those resources are still there. There are more resources that are coming through the county as far as fire information and mitigation on kind of that county level they're not necessarily as applied to residences, but more on a county-wide level. The county is really taking a preventative stance on fire mitigation, on like public lands, right-of-ways, evacuation routes, and they're creating that plan right now, actually, to be able, I believe that's going to be kind of discussed next month as far as what that plan moving forward is for the county.
And should that still include educating the community? Have
Correct.
Other areas that.
Correct. And that a lot of that FireWise is a lot about education.
Right.
For the community. And I think it's something that as a fire district, we see as an opportunity to be able to help educate people and create those educational resources for people, especially as we update the website and other information outlets as we move forward, being able to make sure that that information is available to the members of the district.
Any other questions for the chief?
I have a short one. The five, you mentioned that you were a little concerned about, we've had 5 fire incidences recently. Is that incident report online so we can go and read
Yeah,
the
all of-
cause of what they were?
All of the basic data for the fire incident for each call is online as a general report. However, the actual details that are attached to each report may contain identifying information, and so therefore they're not posted on the website. Does that make sense? And Chief,
I can give some direct clarification on a couple of those incidents. 2 of the 5 were road or rail vehicle fires. So vehicle fires, typically the investigation consists of, yep, it happened. So cause of origin determination really is not as significant for the vehicle fire. One of the fires was obviously the fair fire, and then that does count response that we provide as neutral or automatic aid. So it includes response to the hogback fire. And I believe it as well included a, yeah, as well as the structure fire we provided too. So principally, they have been an uptick, but the cause and origin, there's no real pattern to cause and origin that suggests anything to be concerned about, in my interpretation.
Any other questions on the chief's report? Moving on to community organization reports. Auxiliary, Mary?
Mary Preister, president of the auxiliary. We are planning the pig roast again for this year. It is scheduled for September 23rd. So everyone, please mark your calendars and plan to come and join us here, and we'll eat some pigs and play some games or do something fun, I'm sure. We were very happy to report that we are working with the firefighters on their new booth program. And I think we have 5. I think we have 4 sets that we've already paid. So more people can still reach us. There's 1 new set of boots every 4 years that we share the cost of. This is how that plan is working. Auxiliary has the funds for it, and we're ready to respond as they request their boots. And we did participate a little bit with the badge ceremony, and Dee Dee's going to tell us about that. Our liaison.
G. Ramstetter for auxiliary. Yeah, so the last meeting, she kind of hit on it a little bit. They had a badge pinning at their business meeting, and Terry and I were here for that because we supplied food through the auxiliary, so we stayed for their little badge pinning, and it was really touching. Both of their lovely wives were here, and their wives pinned them. And I do have pictures, and we will get it through to the auxiliary, and maybe on one of their our website newsletters, you'll see the pictures there. But yeah, so thanks to our volunteers and our great new chief and assistant chief and everybody else that shows up for us. Yeah.
Terry, the Grange.
Yeah, Terry Costelia here with the Grange, since we're a little bit more formal today. Couple things. The Front Range Lion Research presentation by Matt Aldridge. Colorado Department of Wildlife will be presenting that here May 25th at 7 p.m. Come and be informed about the critters that are around you. May 31st, we are having a presentation here. You'll be getting that notification. The Centennial House is being dedicated as a historical property, and we will be doing 6 tours. You will be seeing that information coming out. If you don't get a hold of me, Open Space is even putting the bill for a bus on the 31st to transport people back and forth, because the parking is limited at Centennial House. And so the ones that don't know where that's just up the canyon past Robinsonville on the right-hand side west. And let me see, there's a hydration event for the firefighters. The Range does this every year. Sorry, Sam. We're going to start that tomorrow, actually, and it'll run through the 28th. You'll see the sign on the marquee. Please drop off your donations, and we're grateful for them. No diet Gatorade. We prefer regular Gatorade and water, and no carbonated drinks. We appreciate that. Then the final thing, Sunday, we are having the road cleanup on Sunday between 7 and 9. So you'll see about 10 of us out there cleaning up the road from Galbraith Park up to Crawford Gulch. And today I went, just a quick note, I went and picked up all the signage and the safety stuff for that cleanup on Sunday. And I visited with a Mike at Road and Bridge, and he also expressed Mark, who is the new director of Road and Bridge. I thank them profusely for supporting the Grange Road or the Canyon Road with mitigation with snow. This last year was the best I've seen the Road and Bridge ever work on our canyon, and so I express my gratitude, and Mark is going to continue to do that next year. That's all I have. Thank you. Keep it rain or shine. Rain or shine. Oh, pretty
Sunday.
rain or shine. I'm hoping we're not getting snow. We pushed it back a little bit this year. So last year, I think we got snow and postponed. Thank you.
Moving on, under old business, 4.1 is the website transition. Kyle touched on that a little bit. Do you want to go a little more details or not? With Becca, or you feel you covered it?
I think we pretty much covered as far as the website. Like I said, we're kind of in, we got told we're in the next step in the waiting pattern to be able to start our creation of that,
Right.
that website.
Yes, everybody understands it will be state and it will be free. And she is volunteering her services as webmaster.
And who gets
Dave.
access to that website, Deb?
People can
Hosting access.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The way the website is not like Facebook. Okay. It's not an open forum
never
that
said
anybody
Facebook.
can jump on and put on anything they want.
We're not
That's
anybody, we're
why-
board
that's
members,
why-
there's 5 of us.
Are you going to let me talk?
Are you gonna let me say there's 5 board members? We're not the public.
That's correct. You can submit items.
And
We
who's
have to
in
have-
charge of this censorship committee that gets to approve them and other people do not get their items approved? They're just posted. Who makes that choice?
What have you wanted on the website, Steve? I haven't seen.
A
them.
counterpoint to the resolution clarifying it wasn't just me. There were multiple community members who found many flaws in what Chris Creech wrote about that resolution on
And-
the, which was
and did they fill out-
mislabeled.
Did they have an opportunity to express that on the forum?
They didn't have an opportunity to get equal expression on the website, nor did any other board members.
Was the form posted on the website, Steve?
Was the what?
Form,
I'm not talking about the
the
form.
survey. Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
that's
talking
where,
about the survey.
well,
I'm not
that's
talking
where the
about that.
community, that's where the
I'm-
community had an
I'm talking-
opportunity.
No,
Will
they
you
didn't.
listen for?
I would like for us to follow our rules. If we're going to have a conversation, each board member should be allowed 10 minutes. A board member can talk freely and they're in that time frame. So I would like to move that we use the rules that we put into place for board discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Don't want 10 minutes. I want an answer that who gets the post on the website from the board, Deb? Just you and Chris?
Yes, that's correct. You can submit things to be posted, Steve. Somebody
Why
has
not
to,
that? We're not there yet. Dave asked to post. He has not been allowed to post. You never even answered him.
What-
I submitted one to Chris and it did not get posted.
what was it that you wanted on the website?
I submitted an objection and my statement about the resolution for the,
Okay, we're going to talk about the resolution when it's on the agenda because the resolution
Not what I'm talking
at the
about.
last meeting, at the last,
hiring thing, I submitted a biased opinion to what Chris wrote up. So
okay.
it did not get posted.
At the last meeting, do you remember that we voted to have a survey posted on the website concerning the resolution that Chris has posted on the
That's not what
website?
I'm talking about, Deb.
Well, that gives everybody an opportunity to post their opinion. And many
Not
people
on an
did.
equal footing, not an equal platform. Some board members are privileged and other ones are not. And that's what Dave's saying and that's what I'm saying.
I agree, you did not post mine.
I'm gonna talk to the idea of what's posted to the website. I'll start a timer and I will not go over 10 minutes.
I'm gonna hang up. If you go 10 minutes, I'm gonna fall.
I'm
asleep.
gonna ask each board member to practice decorum. Please do not interrupt me. I will speak my 10 minutes. You will have an additional 10 minutes to speak. Please
I
do
don't
not
need 10
interrupt
minutes,
me.
Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
The resolution that I presented has followed all procedural guidelines to be able to be presented on a public facing website. It can be called biased because it was written by me, but it contains facts. Those facts can be disputed when we go into open discussion and action to vote. Every board member will be allowed up to 20 minutes to share their opinion. In order to have information publicly presented on our website, like a resolution, like a statement, it has to be submitted to the board in advance. Simply saying, I disagree with your resolution and here's my reasons why, that's not a resolution. That's not something that we publish or any government agency would publish to a website.
You're bloviating again.
Mr. Green, please do not interrupt me again. Thank you. So this idea that certain board members are censoring other board members, it's absolutely false. We are a government entity. We have rules. Mr. Green, that is the second time you've interrupted me. If you continue to interrupt me, sir, I will motion that you be removed from this meeting. We should be practicing decorum. Thank you. We're a government entity. We have rules, statutes, regulations, and bylaws. If an individual board member does not understand the rules, statutes, regulations, and bylaws that we follow, that is their fault and no one else's. Thank you.
Thank God that wasn't 10 minutes.
Did you have anything else, Steve?
Nope, I've made my point. Some board members don't get the post and other ones get the post.
I think we need,
Unbalanced, it's unfair, it's not democratic, and it's not what this community voted for.
I would like to see everything posted on that go through all 5 board members and be approved by all 5 board members before it's posted.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Your motion, please state it again.
Make a motion that everything that is needs to be posted or it needs to be approved by all board members at a meeting before it's posted.
Hey, Dave, can I modify your motion a little bit?
Yes, go ahead.
I would say what it makes it fair is that if somebody's posting something that is controversial, a counterpoint should be allowed to be posted so that there's a balanced discussion occurring, not a one-sided discussion, always dominated by the curly creech and overworry consensus.
All right, no, I'm not gonna allow that, Steve. I just want to keep it simple here.
Yeah. All
They'll
right,
never get an approval of
Posted
5.
Needs to be approved by all board members at a meeting.
okay. There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a
Well,
second?
it'll never happen. I second Dave's
It's my
motion.
meeting, we don't interrupt.
I'd like to discuss the motion before we vote.
Let's discuss it.
The proposal is that all 5 board members would have to vote before we posted anything to our website. Cora states that our board members cannot communicate in totality, meaning more than 2 board members cannot take part in any communication that has not been publicly posted as a meeting. So the suggestion that we would have to wait a month to discuss and approve anything that gets posted to our website would actually put us in a bylaws violation, because we have to, by law, post information to our website that tells about our meetings, resolutions that will be presented at our meeting. However, we would not be able to vote on that resolution to get posted because we couldn't do it until we publicly met, but we couldn't post to the website the public meeting because we didn't vote on it. So the concept that we could vote on every single item that's published to our website, I don't believe that that's practical or even possible by statute. Every single member of the community has access to the website. There is no individual person's opinion. These are business documents that are being published and they're open to public scrutiny. I find one place where
It's just not
Mr.
true what
Green,
you're saying.
Mr. Green,
Not true what you're saying. It's false.
please do not interrupt me. You will have time to say whatever you want to when I'm finished, sir. Will you please respect decorum and stop interrupting folks? Please. So the notion that we would be able to abide by the motion that has been presented, in my opinion, it's absurd. We can't abide by it. So
No, you can't abide by it. You get everything together at the meeting, you discuss what we're gonna put on, and then that's what you put on. You do not put on what you want to put on.
Okay, there are,
Either that or let me put on what I want to put on.
Exactly. Mr. Creech has been able to put on whatever he wants with the blessings of Curly. I think. We don't really know what goes on. We just see Creech's stuff put up there. But nobody else can put anything up. Dave can't, and I can't either.
All right, there's a motion on the board, on the table.
do we hear a second to that motion?
well,
I second that
we
motion.
discussed it. So I think we
Okay.
would,
We
someone.
had a second. Did you second it, Steve?
I did.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye,
Nope,
So that's what, nay?
nay.
Nay, Sniffy? Niffy, are you still there?
Hello?
Yes, Niffy?
Nay.
All right, the motion fails. All right, Dave, Mr. Primer. I would like to move your discussion of the communication policy, which I have come to see is actually old business because we have discussed the communication policy before.
Well, we can do it again.
Yes, I know. I'm moving it. I'm moving it right now to 4.2 on the agenda rather than further down at 5.3 because it technically is old business, not new business. What is it that you have a problem with? Are you talking about the Gmail policy?
Yeah, the Gmail policy.
Okay,
I want to make it sweet and simple. Communication policy, resolution to accept a new communication policy that all board members are comfortable with. It is not necessary to block elected board members from the communications. Resolution, okay.
Could you say that again, please?
I got the policy right here. Board members agree to use the district provided email for district business. District email is not intended for personal items. Be courteous and professional in all your district communication.
and that's what the policy
That's
says.
what the policy should say.
Okay,
You don't need the one where you were treated like employees.
so you want to change the present email?
Change the present to this one.
You want to put it in the form of a motion?
Yes, I did right away.
I second Dave's motion.
Could I just please, for the record, clarify exactly what the motion is? Is the motion to adopt the this email communication policy?
And get rid of
Motion.
the old one.
Do away with the old one and accept this new one I just read to you.
Motion to replace communication policy with the one that has been read.
Well, it's been read, sweet and simple. Here, have a copy.
Dave, would you read it again? Please?
Board members agree to use the district provided email for all district businesses. District email is not intended for personal items. Be courteous and professional in all your district communications. Sweet, simple.
Okay, we have a motion. You have a copy.
Second.
And a second. I'll call the motion. All in favor of this change to the Gmail policy, which has been signed by four of the five, our old Gmail policy has been signed by 4 of the 5 board members. But all in favor of a new policy replacing the former policy. can
Aye.
vote. Dave,
Aye.
Niffy,
Nay.
Chris,
Nay.
and I'm voting nay.
Keep hiding stuff.
All right. New business. Yay. We are going to I'm going to administer the oath of office. Ladies first to Meredith. If you would step up. Our newest board member. Yes, you can just read it. Raise your hand.
I, Meredith Reheis, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the laws of the State of Colorado, and will faithfully perform the duties of the office as Director of the Golden Gate Fire Protection District, upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I signed, yeah, signature of oath taker. And pen right here. And Dave Primer is our next elected board member. Go ahead.
I, Dave Primer, solemnly swear to everything. If I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Colorado and the laws of the State of Colorado, and will faithfully perform the duties of this office directed to the Golden Gate Fire Protection District, upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it. Just so everybody understands, these two more board members will be seated at the June meeting. We have to file these oaths with several different agencies, which will be done pretty quickly because we can do it electronically now. I don't have to go knock on doors. So they will be seated and active at our next meeting, which is the June meeting. Welcome, Mara. Thank you. The term is 4 years. 4-year term, they alternate 3 years and 4 years. Thank you so much. All right. We move now to the Chief's job duties, 5.2 budget resolution, Mr. Creech.
Thank you. I am gonna start my 10-minute timer. I respectfully request that each board member practice decorum and not interrupt. We know the rules. Each board member will be allowed their own time to talk and share whatever information they would like to when their time comes. I'm not gonna be able to, do we have another timer?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
Kyle can do one.
Kyle, would you mind starting the timer, sir? The budget resolution that I'm presenting to the board to consider has been widely distributed to the community following the guidelines. It was posted to the website. In my opinion, it contains factual information and other individuals can dispute that during their time. I want to, first off, in my presentation process, discuss and make points that that were brought up in our community feedback piece. I read every single community feedback item that was sent in. And while I may agree or disagree with some of them, I've read them And over the time that community feedback was being distributed, I altered some of my way of thinking. I altered some of the items that were discussed previously that didn't move over into this. And I just want to address a few things. The first thing I want to address, this does not cost $140,000. This is not $130,000. This is a $78,000 total annual package. Total. That's it, 78,000. It doesn't grow. There are some mathematical processes that some people worked out that they took the hourly rate that our chief was receiving and then multiplied that by 24 to sort of distort that number. The chief has basically reduced his hourly rate. The 24 hours is a $68,000 pay, $10,000 are in benefits, and we'll describe those here in just a few moments. 78 total package. Why now? A lot of people have asked this question. Most people don't get raises so soon. Why don't we wait and let the chief perform? I've heard 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, give the chief 1 year to perform before we start to take this step. We say that our chief can only work 10 hours a week, yet he has to perform at a level that says we'll be able to give him this increase when we're handcuffing him to 10 hours a week. That portion makes no sense. We have seen in the very short time, we're at 90 days, I believe, either right about now. We've seen in that short amount of time that this chief is qualified. He deserves this. He will be able to perform. So we have to face the concept of retention as well. Waiting another year to take a chief from 10 hours a week higher, we may not have him in a year. So you all know what the labor market's like. Try to figure out what the labor market's like for a good chief in Colorado, and then handcuff that chief and tie him to a 10-hour time period and see how well they perform. Historically, we've not given chiefs the opportunity to perform at the levels that they're supposed to. And so why now? Because we may lose him before you're 6 months, 3 months, etc. Let's retain this chief. This is not a contract. The state of Colorado is a right to work state. If the chief does not perform under this new resolution, this board can take steps. Chief Benson is very well aware of that. He recognizes that moving into this new position, this new increase of duties is based on performance. It's not a contract. The resolution that I'm presenting only deals with budget year 2023. If the next board that starts next month, when they move through their 2024 budget cycle, does not approve of the chief's performance, they can scale him back to 10 hours. They can fire him. They can do whatever they want. It is not a contract. Chief Benson has indicated in some prior conversations that it's good for chiefs to sort of look at contracts, because then it sort of gives them the stability to do the job that they need to. And I've informed him in our conversations that that's great. We can write you a contract, but I would never sign anything that didn't have a performance-based dismissal mechanism. So it's not a real contract if we can then dismiss him. This is a performance-based opportunity. A lot of people have indicated that this concept of expanded duties is far too great for a chief, right? Like, we've basically taken a bunch of administrative stuff, things that were previously done by administrators, and we've thrown all of these onto the chief's shoulders, and there's no way that he's going to be successful. Well, we've already heard the chief's vision to build an army of volunteers. And I can't remember right now what the exact word of operational volunteers, right? Our chief is responsible for the growth, the mentoring, and the development of 20 firefighters that we do not pay. So why could he not be equally responsible for developing individuals that will help him accomplish these goals? For instance, grant writing. This takes a lot of time. The chief's not going to be the only individual with pen and paper sitting down to do all of that work. He is going to recruit, train, develop, mentor be held accountable and responsible for those grants, but he's going to do so through an army of volunteers. That resonates with me personally. For over a decade, I was a volunteer in Scouts BSA. I was Cub Scout, Boy Scout, and Venture Crew volunteer. I never earned a dime in a decade of spending 2 weekends a month in the woods camping with kids and probably 10 or so hours a week in my responsibilities. Guess who made a lot of money? Our district executives. And you know what they did? They coached me, mentored me, trained me, made certain that I was able to do the job. So that's all we're asking our chief to do, is to build our community through volunteers. By the way, I'm the first volunteer. When I'm off this board, he has my application ready. I'm going to be helping this chief do these things, and we hope some other volunteers will as well. Lastly, there has been a lot of, oh, by the way, we're not hiring a 24-hour firefighter. Some people have had this idea that maybe district coverage would be better, you know, because the chief's here, he's just sitting in our district waiting to take a call. We're not hiring a firefighter, we're hiring a chief. So it's not, he's not going to come into our district 24 hours a week and sit waiting for a tone. He's going to be doing all of the business that a CEO of a company, a business should be doing. And guess what? Because he has more time, he probably will be in the district a little bit more. For instance, yesterday, our chief safely was on a roof trying to do some Starlink satellite installations, and I happened to be there with him. He got a call. He was able, just because he's here in our district more, to respond to a call immediately. Now, he wasn't here just to wait for a call. He was here to do chief's business, and we get the benefit of that. There is a concept that we don't need more coverage. We have mutual aid that, you know, our district is small. We only have X number of calls. We have mutual aid. Well, first off, just take the word mutual. Our mutual aid partners are equally dependent on us to be able to help them in their time of need. The more that we hold our district back through great leadership, funding, advancement, really catching up to our neighbors, the less likely they're going to be to want to continue with mutual aid. If we're not able to support them at the level that they're able to support us, we will lose those partnerships. It's time for this district to start to be more progressively thinking about bettering our fire department. That starts with great leadership. My resolution provides us an opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Did you want to go over the numbers or?
My 10 minutes is up unless other people speak, and I'll gladly go.
Is there a motion on the floor to approve this resolution?
We're still in discussion, but yes, I mean,
we can discuss a resolution, but can we go ahead and put a motion on the floor to approve it? Do you
Sure,
want to?
absolutely. I motion to approve.
Chance to make a speech?
Yeah, you'll have time.
Yeah, okay, so I will motion that we approve budget resolution 0518-2023.
And I'll second it. And for discussion. Dave?
Oh, yes. Got a question for Kyle. You accepted this job for the 10-hour thing, 10 hours a week. Now, did someone promise you something more? No. Okay, thank you for your understanding. Okay, resolution, okay. Okay, I think we need Jan Snyder's budget. I'm gonna pass it out since I'm done here. If you vote, and then Nifty, if you vote for Kristen's resolution, you will be responsible for putting this fire district into fiscal rear responsibility position. In the coming years, if repairs to trucks, buildings happen to, fall into disrepair, you need to have the backup money to replace anything that might come up. Right now, we are in good position, mutual aid. is in place. Fire district ambulances dispatch is always called, or the ambulance is always called with dispatch. Our call volume is low. When this changes increases, we can look at this again in the future. We don't think we need full-time chief.
And I'd like to throw in a couple things. Number one, this is not a full-time chief. This is still very part-time, even if it's 24 hours a week. That's still part-time, Dave.
It's still part-time, but on the front range, the most on the front range, your paid departments, the chief is getting around 90,000 on the average.
For a full-time chief.
Chief,
Yes,
90,000 is normally for full-time chief. I think
we're
we're
at 78.
yeah, that's 78. I'm using round
part-time.
figures. That's 80,000. It's just so you need to take this hourly thing off the books and put it down to a salary job.
Okay, we are not spending additional money on this.
Well, you are spending.
Well, how do you prove, show me where we're spending additional money?
If I could just ask
Go
that we
ahead.
maintain our, the back and forth questions is
Okay.
not in compliance with each board member is allowed 10 minutes to speak your
I'm-
mind fully, and then
I'm finished with my 10 minutes.
Dave, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm passing out
Well, tell me, I want to have my, I don't think I need 10 minutes, but I want to have my moment. So Dave, you tell me when you're done.
I'm done. Go ahead. I'm passing out Jan Snyder's budget review.
Okay. Chris Creech says it's time that we ante up and we show the other districts around here that we're serious. I believe that's basically paraphrasing what Chris just said. The difference is Golden Gate has $212,000 a year of revenue. The next closest district, which would be Timberline, gets $2,650,000. Fairmont gets 20 million. Coal Creek, I couldn't find they don't list how much they get. The city of Golden, they get 5.3 million. Netherlands gets 1,900,000. The city of Netherlands. Blackhawk gets 3,700,000. We get 212,000. We have 80 calls a year. They have, Timberline gets, they have a population of 6,000. I don't have the calls for Timberline. They don't all list them. But a lot of these places get hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of calls per year. We're not the same. So anting up, we're not the same.
You
So-
through? Is that it? Is that
No,
all?
I'm not through yet. I'm looking around
Okay.
here.
Go
The
ahead.
median salary for a full-time chief is 91,000 a year. And that's not a 40-hour-a-week chief. That's a job where you work it as much as it's needed. 91,000. No disrespect to our very hardworking chief, but our very hardworking chief works for 2 other fire departments. Unless that's changed. He also has his own company. We're just one of 4 jobs he'll have. Again, he's a very hardworking young man. I see that. But we have to look out for the district's money. I'm done.
Chris?
Niffy, do you have comments?
I have no comment.
Okay, just a few things that I'd like to share, and I'm going to cover some of the numbers here. This idea that this is going to bankrupt the district. It's a great opinion, but I have not seen one individual study that suggests this leads us anywhere near bankruptcy. I'll present in just a second my financial analysis that actually shows in 2023, we have the money without having to do anything else whatsoever, except do a little bit of budget reallocation. Number 2, we keep hearing this number of 80 calls. I believe last year, our total call volume was over 117. I believe at our December Chiefs meeting, we were at 117 as of that meeting. I believe that number may have gotten closer to 120. Any individual person that wants to try to take a number of calls from 127 down to 80 for any reason whatsoever, they're just really, it's a misleading statement.
No, it's
If-
not. They're false alarms that you're talking.
Mr. Green,
Mr.
if you interrupt me one more time.
What are you
I
gonna
will make
do?
a mo-
You're
I
gonna cut me
motion,
off? I've already been cut off. What are you gonna do? You're misrepresenting the number.
I'm going to make a motion to the board that Mr. Green be dismissed from these meeting for continuing to interrupt other board members. That is not professional and it is not part of our decorum. I have a motion to dismiss Mr. Green from our board meeting if he interrupts an additional time.
You still got another motion on the board, but don't have two on there at one time.
That's correct, Dave.
Fair?
Thanks, Smithy.
Point of parliamentary clarification. I believe that promotions relating to the order and the form of a meeting, those take precedence over a main motion. Main motion is the lowest precedence motion on the whole table. So any other motion that is not introducing new business or taking formal action as the district would take precedence over a main motion and can be made to while the main motion is on the table.
So for clarification, the motion that we are currently reviewing is to approve our budget resolution. However, I can insert a motion
Hey,
above
hey,
that.
Chris, it's not gonna pass. I'm not gonna vote for it. Neither is Steve, neither is Dave. I don't want to
Mr. Green,
dismiss
I
Steve
will-
from the meeting, so.
Then I will control the Zoom
Yeah.
audience through muting of microphones. If I continue to be interrupted. If our firefighter, if our department is dispatched, it is a call. Nowhere in, believe FEMA regulations, I'll ask Mr. Benson to verify this in a moment. If a fire department is dispatched, it is a call. They don't categorize it as whether it was a false alarm, whether it was a temporary alarm, whether the unconscious person woke up and it's no longer needed. All of that stuff is just gets washed away. We were dispatched, and that requires services. It requires reports. It requires the chief to do business. So trying to take a number of calls and whittle it down to some smaller number because it was a false alarm, a recall, some other district, if we're dispatched, it is a call. So I don't care if we're dispatched 111 times. I care what the 112th call is going to be. And we need to be better in our district for that 112th call. Or that 81st call, however you want to look at it. That next call is the one that matters most. As far as bankrupting our district, first off, let's just break this down. Let's look at the monies that are in 2023. I've already talked about them in the treasurer's report. I'll just line item up right here. Here's what the chief has requested when he gave us an item a while ago. 68,000 is the chief's compensation. He's asked us to add take it up to 78. We budgeted 33,600. And therefore, just to pay the chief, the differential between what he has asked us and what we budgeted for, we need to come up with 44,400 annually. I cannot control this. It's dropping off. All right, so there has been some indications that payroll taxes are going to increase somewhat. So I've added an additional 1,500 in payroll tax to offset this differential. In total, on an annual basis, the district would need to come up with an additional I don't have my glasses, $45,900. Divided by a month, by 12 months, we need to come up with $3,825. In order for us to achieve this in 2023, we need to come up with a reallocation of $24,863 in order to start this in the middle of June. If we pass this resolution and if Chief Benson accepts this offer, he will have to give a 4-week notice to Timberline. So one of those, Netherland, I'm very sorry. He will have to give a notice to Netherland. and therefore he has 4 weeks. And so he'll be starting this pay, if it all works out, about halfway through June. So 6.5 months in the 2023 budget is all we need to come up with. Number one, I've already discussed the contingency. By the way, the budget resolution says that these 11 items have been, can be, or will be. So if there's one individual line item that just doesn't sit well with a member of the board or a member of the community, that why is that going to be allocated and not saved for what it is? It's okay. There's plenty of money left over. So for instance, if you really think that contingency shouldn't be shifted, that's okay. Even though it's written in the resolution, it is only an optional shift. Okay. So when you start taking contingency, the 8,500 audit, when you add all of the budget surplus items that have already been covered, that equals $60,648. If we move the chief in 2023 to this new 24-hour position, and we paid him the amount of money that he's asked for, we would still have a budget surplus projected of $35,000 by the time we meet the end of our year. Having money in your banking account and adding money to reserves at the end of a year is not bankruptcy. It's the opposite of bankruptcy. So this notion that this is going to bankrupt us, I've not seen one study presented other than just individuals sharing some opinions. Our reserves are there for these types of emergency breakdown vehicles. We have plenty of reserves. And coincidentally, as we move into 2024, raise your hand if you've opened your property evaluations. I personally, because this is public record, will be paying $4,000 additional in taxes next year, just for myself. This district will be receiving more revenue next year. That's up to the next board to decide if this continues. So this in no way bankrupts our district by doing it this year or even continuing it into future years. So I will continue to motion that this board accept and approve this resolution as written, as it is clear that we have the money to do this, and we will still have funds left over after we do this.
I'd like to make a
Yes, sir, I'm done.
very short statement here.
Niffy, wait a minute, Niffy's talking.
Can y'all
Go
hear
ahead,
me?
Niffy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've looked at these numbers. I have argued with Mr. Creech a lot about it. I believe that we shouldn't be spending contingency. I believe the elections is still going to be taking place for ballot A, but that still leaves money left over. I have spoken with Mr. Primer. I do not believe in wasting money or deficit spending at all. I put in my statement when I ran for office, fiscal responsibility. Having reviewed this budget, we have the money, it's budget neutral. So that's where I'm really coming from, is this doesn't cost us anything more than we have already planned. Furthermore, the chief has already saved us over $100,000 in grants for equipment and things. He has already more than covered his pay. This is also temporary. It's not a permanent thing. So with the next board by November, when we come up with our next budget resolution, we can say, hey, we're not getting the benefit. See you later. We have that opportunity. So looking at the fact that this is not going to cost our district any more money, that we're going to get better services, who doesn't want to have more services for the same amount of money? I believe that this is the right thing for us to do. And I'm finished.
Could you please tell me, Nippy, where the chief has made us? I think I heard you say hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I said over $100,000 in
Could you
benefits.
please cite
90
that?
grand was just in the radios.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I have another question though. So that's my first one. Where did he say this $100,000? I think that's what you said.
Yep.
And then you said you're not spending more money. Please tell me how not spending $78,000 is not spending more money.
Chief Benson, can you go ahead and describe the funds that we've gotten because of your influence and your efforts for the district?
Sure.
Radios.
Because of the, just one, we'll cite one example, because of the relationship and the donation of radios to the districts that we spoke about in the last district board meeting, we received over $90,000 in portable radios from State Patrol. We also received 2 sets of 800 and VHF radios for the mobile units that also equal over $25,000 total in radio costs.
May I respond to that? In the past, we've gotten grants for those radios. Plus, that's a very expensive radio. It sounds, no criticism, I'm not personally attacking, but a $25,000 radio? I grew up in a ham radio operating family. My father was a radio engineer for a general in the Korean War. I know quite a bit about radios. That's a hell of a radio.
That's
You're
also
talking
70 years ago,
100,000
Steve.
radios? We just got new radios not long ago.
Unfortunately, Steve, that's just the cost of acquisition of public safety radios in 2023.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't just buy it without more proof. Sorry.
All right, Steve, you had a second question for me. It was, how are we not spending any more money?
Well, yeah, you just.
Are you looking at the screen? Chris is showing how we're not spending more money.
I don't know if I'm looking at that screen.
Well, that's your fault. All right. I think everyone's spoken twice or spoken as much as they wanted to. Actually, Mr. Primer, did you have a second round?
I'd like to make one more comment. I do know that since this job is being offered up at round figures, 80,000. I think this is a new job posting, so it should be reposted and re-advertised for a chief's job.
I agree.
He's welcome to do it again, but with that kind of money, it's got to be floated on the board. It's by law. We're overspending. You got to advertise it again. It's even in our bylaws.
This is a continuation. Okay, call the
We
motion.
did not put forward a bona fide offer because our offer that we put forward was 2,000 to 3,000 a month. And now we're offering consider 3 times that much.
We're enhancing his employment.
Oh, you can use that word if you like.
I motion that we vote. We've all had our time to
I'll
talk.
call the motion, please. The motion
You can
and
be
a second are to accept this resolution. All in, let me see, Mr. Creech.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor. Niffy,
Aye.
all opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Or
Okay,
nay.
the resolution passes.
Make a quick statement.
Yes, sir.
So there was a lot of discussion there that was positive about me and about my personal traits. But this is not about me. This is about the fire district and being able to help build the fire district for the future and moving forward in a positive manner where leadership doesn't get hamstrung by time and making sure that the proper allocation for resources to move forward, to be able to attend the meetings that we need to and represent the district on the county and the state level, as we've talked about, and to be able to respond to people's homes when we are in district, and to be able to really represent what it means to be Golden Gate Fire in this next phase. That's what this means. This is not about Chief Benson. This is about Golden Gate Fire and the chief of Golden Gate Fire. So thank you for
You could donate your salary, not that I expect that.
Comment in regards to that, first off. As y'all know, at our last meeting, I presented this as a discussion topic. We were told that if it were proven to be revenue neutral, that it would be supported by the board. I invited Kyle to a meeting, Chief Benson. We opened up the budget. We went line item for line item, and to make certain that I was able to find the budget monies, I asked him some specific questions about other line items, for instance, personal incentives, other areas of spend that we might be able to whittle back. Chief Benson said, Chris, stop. I will not do this if we remove any funds that are intended for the firefighters. So when he says, he proves it, okay? He proved it to me. And it floored me when he did that, because obviously this is something that, you know, is an improvement for him and for us. But to have that type of integrity to say, stop right there, if this is going to affect anybody in this district other than me, no, I'm not a part of that. So I just thought I should share that. So
I thought, Chris, you said that the firefighters don't get paid anything, which isn't exactly true.
Mr. Green, you approved the 2023 budget that has
I
a
created.
line item. I don't have that line item to memory. I'll look it up, but the line item is
Dave Kennard and I created that.
incentives. It's in the budget that you wrote, sir.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just citing your contradictions that you make within 15 minutes of each other.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that to heart.
Can we move along and just go on to public comment, please?
Public comment, anybody?
Thank you.
Oh, wait, we've got some hands.
If you could, please, with your public comment, just step forward so the microphone can pick you up for the Zoom audience.
I'm Paul Crew, and I just want to thank the board for bringing Chief Benson on board. I don't have any personal relationship with him in any way, shape, or form. I just see from the day that he came to us, the vision and the benefits that we will gain by having him. And I think he's doing a disservice by not giving him 40 hours a week. I'm grateful for the 20 or 24.
Sheila?
Sheila Carlin, district resident. Since this is your last meeting, Chris, I just want to acknowledge your service to the board. I think you've done an admirable job, and thank you for your service.
Dee Dee?
Dee Dee Ramstetter speaking in public comment. I'd like just to say about the next call. Our family was the next call the other day. And thanks to these volunteer men and women and Chief Benson for showing up for our family, you know, in a medical emergency. Arlene would like to thank y'all for professionalism, your kindness, everything that was shown to them. And yes. And then there was somebody just coming up the canyon, and here again, vehicle fire at the bottom of their driveway. And our volunteers again were out on that call. The next call that could have started a mountain on fire because of a vehicle fire showed up again. So as a community in a rural district, we need to stand up for these people, and we need to do everything we can and stop the yan back and forth and support these volunteer men and women and our paid person, for God's sake. Y'all have a job and get paid. So anyway, I will stop because I'm going to get real southern this morning.
Dave.
One comment I had is that we've had very good chiefs in the past. We've had chiefs that were not paid. We've had chiefs that were paid something. And the problem that I saw with situations with chiefs is that was the board that curtailed what the abilities of the chief was able to do. And I'll be sure that happen again.
Others? Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh.
I would like to thank the board for all their hard work and for finding a wonderful chief that we are all going to be proud of and happy is helping our community. And also thanks to all the volunteer firefighters. I think they are wonderful, and we are very grateful to have all of you on board. You are very appreciated, and thank you so much.
Anyone? Oh, John?
I gotta say thanks to Chris. More so than the chief.
Deserves it.
Putting up with the rigor and the demand that both were imposed on him by the board to understand that this is a truly budget neutral transaction in the best interest of this community. This was a no-brainer. All the arguments that were online are sort of historical issues. I went back into 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, looked at those boards. I could find no identified line item for even the chief. But the admin costs were on the average 42% of the tax revenue base in those 5-year epics. So this assertion that a 37% allocation is out of line, it is true within the last 5 years, which has contributed to the increase in the reserve that's over 400,000, because we have chosen to underpay for the personnel resources that have to manage this enterprise as a business, not as a plaything. And the degree to which Chris has had to try to decompose and recompile what I would consider are inconsistent, sophomoric, and irrational financial statements over the last 15 years is a legacy that he is imparting to this board and all future boards. And if you don't maintain it and continue it in the rigor, we will continue to have this kind of Luddite kind of transaction on, is it worth it or not worth it? This is the 21st century. And it'll take one fire to burn this place down if we don't have people who are skilled, capable, and understanding. So I appreciate, yes, what Kyle brings to this, and looking over the last 27 years that we have been here, without a doubt, he is the best fire chief I have seen. And Chris has been the best treasurer. And thank God that the requirement to look at this resolution has forced him to spend hours digging through this financial pro forma mess and to recompile it and leave it for the rest of us to continue on. I really appreciate Chris. And thanks for volunteering and hanging in. And yes, we heard him firing down the Crawford when we were out working in the backyard. And I saw the white truck and I knew he was on his way. So thanks again. I mean, I know this was a tough transaction. It caused the community to give you a 60-40 confidence that you are on the right course. And all of the rest of the stuff is noise factor that hopefully will start to suppress. Thank you.
And anybody else have anything to add? Terry?
Terry Castolia, Chris, I want to thank you again for all your efforts. I've watched and I've learned a lot with your research and very grateful. And I think this community owes you a debt of gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chief, I agree with Paul back here. I think you should have 40 hours. Thank you.
And just so I think y'all, Chris mentioned this earlier, but Bev, do you mind if I share our conversations?
Go ahead.
So I have, Chris has not been able to fill out an application yet because he's been on the board after after the June meeting, or technically after this meeting.
After
After
everything's filed.
everything's
should be
filed,
Probably a few days.
Chris will be applying as our first administrative, non-operational volunteer, other than Becca. So Chris will still be a part of the fire district. And being able to help with all of the great knowledge and things that he shares. And that's not leaving the district.
Does he get a T-shirt?
He's gonna get a t-shirt. Just you ask, he's gonna be an operational, fully functional firefighter before we know it, so.
All right, if that's all, our next regular board meeting is June 15th. Our new board members will be seated. And it will be here, right here at the Grange Hall. And I make a,
Hold on.
oh, go ahead.
Before we, do you accept?
Oh, yeah, do you?
We passed it. We got- Are you on board?
I accept.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would like to congratulate Kyle. And I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Steve.
You're welcome, Kyle.
So do you want the same, the same,
You and I will be